What's going on, guys, and welcome to the Bought to Build YouTube channel. On today's video, we're going to be working on the budget GTO. We're going to be trying to port and polish our own throttle body. We have an extra stock one here. There's a couple reasons for it. We had some issues where it kept going into limp mode because of the throttle body, and I'm pretty confident that the issue wasn't the throttle body and that we have it fixed now. So we did take this one apart, and it might not work anymore, so we're gonna go ahead and get this thing plugged in and see if it still operates as it should. And if it does, we're gonna go ahead and try porting and polishing this one on our own and see what we can get out of it. Alright, now let's see if this thing works. I'm gonna set you guys up right here, and then I will come back and see if it worked. Alright, guys, so it does look like the throttle body is still working. I'll go ahead and quickly explain to you guys why I bought the new throttle body. This intake I got off Facebook Marketplace. It's the, I'm not sure how to say it, to be honest. I think it's like a Veraram, and it's a great intake. It's been a good intake, but the issue was the boot, the coupler and stuff that I got right there. As you can see, this one is still, I've got a little gap in it. What was happening was the coupler or the boot that it came with was too short. So when you would put the mass airflow sensor in and the filter and everything else all together and slide it in, the throttle blade was hitting it when it'd go wide open, and it was throwing it into a limp mode. And I had thought that it was either the pedal position sensor that went bad or the throttle body. So I guess I should have taken the whole intake apart and checked it that way before I went and bought a new throttle body. But when I looked it up, it seemed pretty common, so I just went ahead and got a new throttle body. And then I had the same issue with the new throttle body, obviously, so that's when I realized what was going on. And by that point, I had already taken this one all apart and taken the electric motor and everything out of it, and I was pretty confident that I had broke something, to be honest with you. But we just tried it and it seems to work. So in the theme of the budget GTO, we are going to go ahead and try to take apart a stock throttle body and give it a little port and polish and see if it actually helps response at all. Alright, guys, so we just got back from Harbor Freight. We're getting ready to port this throttle body. We just went down there. I wanted to pick up a few new reamer bits. A couple other little things, like we wanted some metal polish for when we're finishing it up. I wanted 600 grit, but I could only find 500 grit. I'm sure it'll be fine for what we're doing. And then I had to get another Dremel because mine took a crap. But then I was thinking about it, and I might try my Milwaukee die grinder here, my right angle grinder, with these bits, because there is quite a bit of material, especially right here, that we're gonna have to take off. So I figured that we could probably start with a bigger tool and then go down to a Dremel, and then I've even got my mini Dremel for polishing and stuff like that. But we're gonna bounce between a few tools here and see what works best. We've also got another Milwaukee tool here. Like I said, we're gonna try a few different things and see what works best for us. But yeah, so let's get started here. I just cleaned it up just a little bit quick. But what you're gonna want to do is, let me see if you can see it with the light on here. I don't know if you can see that, but what I did was I took and etched a T into the back of the throttle blade, so that when we go to put it back together, so that we know that side was top. And then I also, it's hard for you to see, but I went and I made a line here just to mark it and make sure that we get it pretty close to lined up when it goes back together. It should fall into place, but I just wanted to be sure. I'm pretty confident that you could do this without taking the blade out, but we're going to take it out just because it looks easier. But now the next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take a Sharpie and see how the blade comes back. Well, when it comes back like that, it shuts off pretty much all the air, so we can't Dremel or grind past right there. Now we could probably go pretty close to it, but I'm gonna leave a little bit of room. And then same thing on this side here. With this kicked back, we don't want to go too close to that, because then it'll idle funny and everything else, and it won't be able to shut the air off completely when it wants to. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a Sharpie and I'm gonna mark it with the blade all the way back like that, and then I'm also gonna mark probably about right about there. I'm gonna mark just so that we don't go too crazy. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that marked up, and then we will go ahead and take the blade off. All right, guys, so we've got this thing marked up pretty decent here. I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys. So I put a Sharpie line there so that you can see when it's in the closed position. We definitely do not want to go past that. And then same thing on this side, made a mark. You don't want to go past there with it at all, because then it cause all kinds of weird issues and stuff. And then as far as the open position goes, this is my first time doing it, so don't take any of this as like a perfect how-to. I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing. But as far as open goes, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go right to where you can see it's like machined right there. I'm gonna just take this whole area off and just try to make it a smoother transition, so that when it goes to open, my line's gonna be about there, and then it'll open right up. And I'm just trying to make the air flow smoother, because you can see the humps down at the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. See the hump right there? And then if my fat thumb gets out of the way, you can see it tapers down real hard right there too. And then as far as the back goes, we're not gonna go too crazy taking any material off, but what we are gonna do is try to make the transition right here just a little smoother. So I'm not gonna take much material, I'm just gonna try to fix that transition. And then same thing up here, not gonna take much material, just try to fix the transition. And then I already told you guys to mark your blade. We might try without taking it off first and see if it's in the way, and if it's in the way, then we'll take it off. But then the only other thing I would be careful of is don't make the actual opening, like where it mates up to your intake, any bigger, because if you try to Dremel that out, it's just gonna create turbulence, because you're gonna have your intake manifold, so the air is gonna come in and hit like the flat lip, because this would be smaller, and it's gonna create turbulence, so it's gonna basically counteract whatever we accomplish here. So let's go ahead and get some of the tools set up and see if we can't get some material out of this thing. guys, so it's starting to get dark on me here already. As you can see, got some lights out. But we're probably gonna just give this thing a quick start here and see how our tools are gonna work out for taking out material, and then we might just pack it up and call it a night. With these coming up to winter here, with these early nights, kind of sucks, but we'll get what we can get done and either go into the garage or finish up tomorrow. All right guys, so as you've seen, the GoPro died on me last night, so it's the next day here. And I did keep going a little bit after the GoPro died, just to try to get this thing done. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you how far we've made it and what all I used to get here. And if you have any questions, make sure you comment, and I'll try to answer as many as I can. But so as far as we used, for the majority of like taking material off, I used these reamer bits, as you guys seen me doing. I bought the whole little kit here. These two I had already, but this one, and there was another straightish one that's on our other tool. But I got them at Harbor Freight, the cheap brand. They were like 60 bucks. You could get cheaper ones, obviously, but you honestly don't need these 110%. You could just use one of these sanding wheels and then a flap wheel. If you were trying to do this like as cheap as possible, you could just go to Harbor Freight and buy this whole little Dremel kit. As you can see, there's some stuff missing, but it comes with like a bigger sander wheel. All these were full of sand discs. It comes with all those stones, a whole bunch of stuff. But it's only like 25 bucks. So you could get that and like a cheap $20 Dremel and literally do this whole job. You don't need to use a die grinder like I did, or those reamer bits. I just did it because A, I had the die grinder, and B, I'm sure I'm gonna use those reamer bits on another project, so I figured I'd buy some half decent ones. So like I said, what we did was we used this reamer tool here, and we really mainly only used this one for the majority of it, and we took a lot of material off. We took a lot of material off, guys. So once we did that and I got it down to somewhat close to where I want it to be, we went in there with these little sanding wheels. It's just sandpaper on a rubber wheel, really. And I went in there with the Dremel to try to smooth stuff down and get it a little bit more uniform, so that everything was going to flow as good as possible and it just feels smooth to your hand. I did 90% of this just by the feel off my fingers, and I think it's coming out pretty damn good. So, but after we used those sanding wheels, we switched over to this flap wheel, which is basically a very similar thing. And I was using 80 grit, but if I were to do it again, I'd probably start with an 80 grit and then work my way smoother. But what I did was I used this one, the 80 grit, and then we switched over to doing it by hand. I also picked this stuff up over at Harbor Freight. It's just some wet dry 500 grit. I personally was looking for 600, but they didn't have any, so I figured 500 would work for what we're doing. So I only used literally one sheet of it. I mean, this is still what's left of that sheet, so I didn't use very much at all. And what I did, so that you don't like pack up the sandpaper and make it useless real fast, is I used a little bit of this WD-40 right here. I just bought a can of that, and I just put a couple drops, well, maybe a little bit more than a couple drops, but I put some on the sandpaper to lubricate it, because it even says right on the sandpaper, use with oil for smoothing and polishing metals. So I figured I'd give it a try, and it did work. It worked really well. So after we used the 500 grit, I had a piece of 1000 grit laying around. I actually ended up using that whole piece, but this stuff's worked really well. I used a little bit of oil with that as well, and that started to get us a really nice finish. And then just because I had it and I wasn't in a rush or anything, I ended up stepping all the way up to 2000 grit. And you basically just do the same thing I had showed you guys before. You don't want to go past the Sharpie marks you made, but you do want to go in there and just smooth everything that we took out. And let me show you where we're at after the 2000 grit. It's coming a long way, guys. I mean, you can go back in the video and see how restrictive that is, or when we go to put this thing on here in a little while, when we're done polishing it, I will pull the stock the other stock throttle body off, and we'll put the two stock throttle bodies next to each other and see how much more material there is on the stock one, so, or on the one that we haven't ported yet, because I do plan on porting that one and then putting that one back on the car, since that's a newer throttle body, and then I'll just keep this one as either a spare or see if one of my buddies can use it. But we took a lot out of the back, not a whole lot actually. I mean, we took a lot more out of the front, but it's just a way smoother transition. You don't feel any of those lips. And with that 1000 grit, I mean, you can still see some minor defects. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but you can see some minor defects here, but you can't even feel them with your finger. So I'm gonna say that's pretty good. And then same thing here. Once we started stepping it up to the 1000 and 2000 grit, I honestly could not believe how like polished it was. Like I didn't think it was gonna come out that good. And so I'm really happy with how it's coming out. So now what we're gonna do is, while I was at Harbor Freight, I tried picking up some polishing compound, and I've personally never used this type before. It's just a like clay. Let me see if I can get it open for you guys here. It's like a clay. You can see where I spun the wheel on it there to see, and you literally just spin your wheel on it, it builds up on the wheel, and then you go to polishing. So we're gonna give this one a shot, see how we like it. If we like it, great. If not, I do have some Duracoating Technologies metal polish that I use for aluminum all the time. So let's go ahead and get a wheel on the Dremel here and start giving this thing a try. Alright guys, let's go ahead and get the GTO out and start swapping this throttle body over and see if we can tell any kind of difference. Alright guys, so we've got the other throttle body out. I'll just show you guys real quick. I just pulled it out quick. So I'm sure you guys can tell which one I haven't touched is this one. I mean, look at the restriction there. Then look at the one we just ported. That one looks nice. I mean, let's see if I can open it up with one hand here. Look at that. It's not smooth, it's just got big lumps in it, and just no bueno, no good. So, then we look at ours, the one we did port. Look at that. Shiny, smooth, flows. I mean, feels like glass, guys. Then you come to this thing, and it's rough. It's got big humps in it there, here. So I'm really excited to see if it actually makes it a little more responsive. So let's go ahead and get this one on and go from there. Alright guys, we've got the throttle body that we ported and polished on there. So let's see if this thing starts and idles how it should. Pretty confident that it will, but let's see. See if I can turn the dash lights on. So yeah, there you go. Alright, here goes nothing. Don't worry about that airbag light, guys. It's been needing a module for as long as I can remember. Seems like it might be just a touch higher. I don't know if you guys can see that. But it was on that line. Now it looks like it's just a touch above it. But I don't think if it's that little, I don't think that'll affect anything. It definitely feels, I don't know, it's hard to say. It definitely feels like it might actually be a little bit more responsive. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's definitely more responsive. It almost does feel like it's a little bit smoother into the power. Like the transition from coming off the throttle back into the throttle. It definitely feels a little smoother. Now, we didn't change any of the tune calibrations for this at all. I just simply took my other stock throttle body off. Took a spare stock throttle body that I had laying around, tried porting it myself and put it on. I'm sure it could be done a little bit more professional than I did it, but I'm pretty happy with how it came out for my first one. I'm sure if I did a couple more, it would come out even better. And I did try to polish it the best I could while I was in there porting it, so I don't know if that helped with anything either, but I'm gonna have to say that I definitely feel a difference. Now, I don't know if that difference is any more power, but it's definitely more, it feels more fun to drive, if that makes sense. You just roll into it and it's right there. So, we'll drive it a little bit more here and see what we think, and then when we go back to the house, I'll let you guys know my take on it. Not the school bus is out tonight, that's for sure. Definitely have to say it's more responsive for sure. But let's go ahead and turn around and head back to the house. All right, guys, so we just got back from a test drive with the GTO with the stock ported throttle body on it. I think it made a difference. I definitely feel like it's more responsive, and I definitely feel like it goes better in my opinion. I don't want to tell you guys that it does add power or anything like that, because I don't know for a fact that it does. Now, in the spring when we get it back on the dyno or back out to a drag strip, I'm definitely going to bring both and try them back to back and see if there is an actual difference, a measurable difference. But as far as driving feel goes, it definitely feels like a difference. It's more responsive. It actually feels like it gets into power a little sooner. So in conclusion, I would definitely recommend doing it. I mean, it's basically free to do. It just takes a little bit of your time. To me, it was kind of a fun little project to learn from. It was a cool experience. I'm glad I did it. I think that a lot of you guys would probably notice the difference too. It's just more responsive mainly. But I'm happy with it. I think you guys will be too. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for checking us out at the Bought to Build YouTube channel. Make sure if you guys have any ideas how I can make the channel better for you guys or myself, better content, if I can edit things differently, if you have any suggestions on a software I should try using. I'm trying to grow this channel and I'm trying to do it better for both of us, me and you guys, and I am 100% open to your guys' ideas, and go ahead and leave them in the comments. I try to read all comments, so if you want to leave something down there. I'm looking at getting a new laptop just for editing videos and things like that, so I'm going to be trying to work through that learning curve there. But if you guys have any tips, tricks, anything that's worked for you guys in your channel that you want to share with me, go ahead and leave me a comment, or you can always hit me up on Instagram. It's yellow_hellcat1. And like I said, I'm always around, and I'm always down to try to make the channel better for everybody involved. So once again, guys, thanks for spending some time here with us today at the Bought to Build YouTube channel, and we will catch you on the next one.